Can we make our way back into the auditorium, please? In the meantime, we also have, if you look towards the back, towards the exit, we have an exhibition stand. You might also want to check out what we have on display. Thank you. Distinguished Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we proceed with the panel session. I would quickly want to introduce the moderator for this panel session, in person of Ms. Rachel Wese-Tiona. Ms. Rachel is a climate governance and policy expert with over a decade of experience advancing climate change adaptation, mitigation, renewable energy, and environmental protection across Nigeria. She serves as the managing consultant of Beacon Point Consultancy, through which she has rendered consultancy to House of Reps Committee on Climate Change and Security, the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, and the Benue State Climate Change Council, where she provides technical advisory on climate finance, policy implementation, and alignment with the Paris Agreement. Ms. Rachel has strengthened the capacity of legislative member on climate governance, finance, loss and damage. And she has also contributed to the NDC 3.0, which is currently ongoing. Likewise, as the founder of Undo Development Initiative, a youth-led nonprofit, Ms. Rachel promotes climate literacy and digital inclusion for girls in underserved communities, and her work bridges governance, capacity building, and just transition, positioning her as a trusted voice in shaping inclusive and resilient climate solutions. Please jam your hands. A round of applause as we bring to the podium Mrs. Rachel.
I'm not Mrs., I am Miss. So I just want to correct that. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I also, or permit me to stand on the already established protocol. Okay, so the assignment today is very simple. It's a panel. The topic is policy to practice, implementing solutions for a just transition. And I want to welcome all of you to this panel session. I'm afraid that most of my panelists left. I don't know what to do with that. Maybe you advise. I only have Ambassador Peter. So we are proceeding with the two panelists I am left with. So we are proceeding with the two panelists I am left with. I wished all of them were still here, but we'll make do what we have. So the first panelist for today His Excellency Peter Linkert, Ambassador of the Kingdom of Belgium to Nigeria. He will be providing international perspective and partnership, bilateral cooperation, and lessons from global experiences in implementing just transition strategies. You're welcome, sir. And we'll be having Dr. Abi Olushola, a legal and policy expert. She would be bringing perspective on regulatory alignment, institutional gaps, and policy enforcement. So those are my two panelists. I hope I do justice to this panel because I was supposed to have 4 panelists, so whatever, just permit me. Your Excellency, you in your presentation earlier, you made mention of what your country has been doing, also with the EU and the German government as well. And I'm also opportune to know a lot about what the German government is doing, because they're also supporting the House Committee on Climate Change and Security. And then the EU Green Week that is going on currently. So could you please just give us some of these interventions from the international community and how we're supporting climate resilience, green transition initiatives globally and especially in Nigeria? Could you share some examples on how international partnerships can support Nigeria just transition efforts, particularly in areas like technology transfer, capacity building, and financing sustainability projects?
Yes, well, thank you very much. And first, to make things also very clear, this is not an assignment that was communicated to me beforehand. So it is a bit improvised for me, but nevertheless, I mean, I've been in this country for over 2 years, so I should be able to address any subject in any kind of, setting. So I'm still happy to be part of this panel, and I've also listened with much interest to some of the speeches that came after my goodwill message, which also inspired me a little bit more on, what can be done here. Now, yes, there is the Green Week of the EU, and it's, I mean, it's not really my capacity to kind of like give a long overview of what's happening there. We also have people there from the embassy. I will be also in attendance there every once in a while. But yes, there are many different challenges. I was referring to the methane pledge that Nigeria has subscribed to, but is quite slow in implementing, and that there are also external reasons to make that happen quickly in order to keep the market access into the EU for Nigeria going. There are also other challenges on regarding setting up of carbon markets, which indeed could be very lucrative if they would be in place, but they come also with very strict requirements if you really want it monitorable and reported and verifiable as goes in the international jargon. Then you really have to make sure that compliance is absolutely waterproof, and that's that the country in its follow-up of the measures it sets in place to set up a carbon market is also complying to international standards. And that's where you can also benefit, of course, from multilateral institutions, international partners coming in and all of that. Let me now also come back to a few of the specifics that I mentioned that also the woman farmer mentioned, which I found very interesting. When it comes to technology, there's a very valid point that technology that has worked elsewhere is not necessarily the best suited for this place, for Nigeria. And I'm totally aware of that. and cognizant as an ambassador. And that is precisely why the startup firm from Belgium that I referred to that has these kind of autonomous cooling battery systems that can work off-grid, they have developed that specifically for sub-Saharan African countries, because in Belgium you don't have problems with unreliable grids. So let's say, wrapping that up, if we have trade missions coming in from Belgium to Nigeria, so either these firms will have solutions that are specifically tailored to this market and don't just think of, replicating something that they already know from Belgium, or otherwise there will be companies that have had already a proven track record here in Nigeria. The other ones should just go home. As an ambassador, we have to be very clear on that. These companies are getting very strictly vetted so that we don't end up with what they call white elephants here. Then, how do we come in as Belgium in Nigeria? I think in a wider sense, and it's not only so for the renewable energy or for the climate sector. It's a very straightforward story. We don't have government-to-government financing flowing. We don't have development cooperation initiatives with, either grants or large financing streams flowing in. No. We focus that on what we call least developed countries in Africa, and in a minimal way also outside of the African country, but very much focused still on Africa. But on LDCs, and there's a reason for that, because least developed countries, which include a few neighboring countries of Nigeria, but not Nigeria, there's a good reason, that is that these countries, by what they earn in terms of either tax or other incomes, don't have enough in their fragile situation to fund their own development. Now, we are very adamant and clear that is not the case for Nigeria. Nigeria has, in principle, enough resources available for domestic resource mobilization, as we call it. And of course, that's why I'm also, as an ambassador, very, I'd say, encouraged by, for instance, the fiscal reforms that are taking place in this country, which have exactly that in mind, making sure. And actually the farmer was also hinting at it, if you rely on foreign funding or foreign technology, it's only going to last that long, and if it comes to an end, then you still have to figure out how it works. So that is why what we bring in from Belgium is mostly traders, companies that can offer technological solutions for a fee, but that also means that the ones who will be wanting to pay that fee in this country will be convinced of the added value of that solution coming in. So we are not just, dumping solutions for free here. That's not how we go about it. This said, we do have academic cooperation between our universities and some universities here in Nigeria, in Minna, in Ibadan, and so on. So that is happening. We also do have, credit, export credit financing, and other ways that make it easier for our companies and our institutes and all of that to also to stimulate them to work here in Nigeria. So there are certain ways that we can make it easier to have this cross-fertilization going on. But again, it's not in the form of direct grants. Now the EU, I know, does that to quite some scale. That's not the name of the Belgian game here. We are about matchmaking as an embassy and about trying to find out those matches between Belgian and Nigerian companies that can work to get that technological upscaling done and so forth.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. You mentioned quite a number of issues, and I just before I get to you, Dr. Abi, on the knowledge transfer, the technology transfer, and you spoke about the policies that are not there for the methane regulation, the carbon markets framework. It's something that some of us has actually been pushing. Is there some way that we could have a knowledge transfer with our policy makers to just have a study of what Belgium have done in this regard, and how we could also replicate that to fit our own domain?
Well, Once again, I'd say what I've read, for instance, from what some companies have on offer is that, I mean, we sometimes overestimate the share of protected technologies in all of this. Many technologies are actually readily available to be transferred. And so, as I see it, it shouldn't be a stumbling block. You know, the services are going to be offered for a fee, but the technologies are often transferable. And that even goes to, I mean, we've not really been talking about environmental cleanup today. It's more about, you know, food security, and I totally respect and kind of endorse that focus. But even a company from Belgium that is able to do some cleanup work in the Niger Delta, for instance, tells it, I mean, it has a specific technology, but they're just very ready also to train local people in it, so that local people can then replicate that work elsewhere. So that's also why they say, you know, if we get this contract to do that, train local people in it, so that local people can then replicate that work elsewhere. So that's also why they say, you know, if we get this contract to do that cleanup work in the Niger Delta, we are not starting to think about what kind of corporate social responsibility side kick could we basically put in place in terms of building a school or doing this or that. No, they say we are going to be major employers, because if this comes through, this is about hundreds and thousands of people who will be trained to do the work, and then who can start also training other people. So in a way, I don't honestly think that the technology problem is the biggest hurdle necessarily here. It's mostly about mobilizing the resources here and matching it with those who are willing to come in. Let me also add one thing, now that we are also speaking on these specific issues. When I heard the farmer speak about the too small size sometimes of farms and, you know, of farming units in this country, it's always struck me, and it's something I've discussed a number of times over the last few months with people who are sometimes into policy making, sometimes into farming, sometimes and often into both. That is that throughout the history of Nigeria, the cooperative model of farming hasn't really been given its fair chance yet. Because sometimes buying a certain technology as an individual farmer is far too expensive. But if you do that as a cooperative, everybody puts some money together and then buys that technology for the benefit of all. That's where you get into advantage of scale. And that is also why our embassy, for instance, this summer was organizing on the International Cooperatives Day a big event at our residence, showcasing also and launching a few new cooperative structures which are totally homegrown by Nigerians who we endorse and that we would like to put the spotlight on. The link with Belgium there was mostly that the International Association of Cooperatives is based in Brussels, Belgium. But it's not like we were necessarily bringing in Belgian cooperatives. It's more like a belief that if Nigerians would kind of like cast a more favorable light on the cooperative way of working and financing projects, that this could probably also help things forward. It's a typical thing, because I've been in Kenya 15 years ago, and there the challenge is a similar one. You know, countries that throughout the decades of Cold War were mostly on the American side usually haven't developed much of a cooperative culture, a cooperative spirit. And it's not necessarily, I mean, cooperatives don't mean communism. It's another kind of capitalist practice. But they're sometimes looked upon a bit disfavorably by countries who were like very firmly on the American side during the Cold War. But it's time to probably throw off these blinders and also look into what it can do to emancipate, to enhance, and to put financing and technology transfer to a certain scale by collectively financing that.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Dr. Abbey, we were talking of just transition. So I just want you to
Justice is a national concern. It is also an individual concern, and we are all accountable. So back to your question, talking about justice. It's about accountability first, but there is no accountability without a proper structure. And the structure goes back to political will, financial support. So justice is looking out for the farmers, yes, but looking out for the next guy or next individual or next human that can power electricity. This is about renewable energy, climate justice. If I'm a woman and I live in Cairo and I can power electricity in my small domain, I can have a farm at the back of my house. So justice means there's AI, there's machine learning. What are we doing about it? Locally, we could create, just like the ambassador said, we could create solutions that help, to solve the solution of climate justice. These days when we've got AI, I just need to sit down and, there's a projection going on to tell me, do this, do that, don't do that. You're going above the threshold. Justice is about carbon registry. We haven't got one. And we're missing a lot. I mean, we shouldn't be talking dollar. We're missing dollars. Now, how are we missing this? Our carbon is not trusted. So no one is going to come for it. So I go back to legislation. I go back to governance. Speaking about governance, which is your space, what are we doing about data governance? We've not done anything about data governance. I was once a youth corper in this Abuja, but I'm going to corpers and I'm going to student now. I don't want you to think like the normal people. I want your thought to be different from the second thought, the next person sitting next to you. There's a lot to do in technology when it comes to renewable. We haven't leveraged anything yet. Oh, you're coming out, I want to work in National Assembly, I want to work at CBN, you can be your own boss. Even if, you don't know how to go about it and you pick up a day job because you have to survive, but you can start with innovation. There are loads of things to do in innovation, which goes back to justice. Now, justice is you looking out for the climate in general. I don't know if anyone noticed the comments of the UN Secretary General at the last Oga in New York. Climate justice, if you're not taking it serious, then you're not doing anything yet. You're not there. So justice, to me, is about structure, accountability, legislation, political willingness, financial support, and me, you, the next person sitting there, and everyone in general. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abi. Just to add to that, it also means inclusion. Because when you're talking of justice, you don't consider the farmers, you don't consider the differently disabled, the youth, then that is not just justice. And I remember, I'm not sure whether it was in Dubai or in Baku last year, at the COP, where we had people carry placard and say, face out fossil fuel. And then I look at myself and I say, but Nigeria lives on fossil fuel. So we say face out fossil fuel, what do you want Nigeria economy to do? So now we have to look inwardly to see how we can transition to green economy without affecting the livelihood of every other person in the country. So I think that's very important. Dr. Abi, I just want to throw more light on the livelihood of every other person in the country. So I think that's very important. Dr. Abi, I just want to throw more light on this. Policy alignment and enforcement remains, it has major gaps, major big gaps. What institutional reforms or legal frameworks are necessary to ensure a seamless transition that is both fair and enforceable?
Institutional reforms. I think Nigeria has got everything Nigeria needs. Nigeria is blessed. Institutional reforms, even if we can create what we could stand on, we've got templates around the world. We've got United Nations, there are loads of framework under the United Nations that we could copy and imbibe into what would work for us. Then we've got brilliant minds that could come up with solutions, suggestions for the government. To me, the government plays a key role here. But most times, government is working, no doubt, but there's implementation gap. So that implementation gap could be done by survey, data, close the gap, then we'll look for how, to build on reforms that could include everyone. Reforms about inclusion, reforms about institutional reforms about financial support. I particularly feel the government can support financially in this space. And I particularly feel that, correct me, if I'm wrong, I'm always open to correction. I particularly feel that we are the reform. So I feel we can always set a standard that the next generation, or even this generation, or the next neighbor could live on. I feel me cooking with my, biogas means the neighbor is saying, oh, how did you do that? And, we'll make it a community development. So institutional reform is about inclusion, as you said, and, general acceptance and community development. There's a lot to do when we empower ourselves communally. We can always pass the baton to let it get to the right sector or right government or right decision maker. So it's about us first, inclusion, and then what next?
Thank you so much, Dr. Abi. Your Excellency, just one more question. When we talk of just transition, it differs across continents, across countries. Just the way I mentioned about fossil fuels, you can't phase out fossil fuels because some countries like Nigeria live on fossil fuels. Now my question, from a diplomatic standpoint, how can developed countries or nations align their expectations so that the transition is both fair and practical for all sides?
Thank you for bringing that up. And even if you wouldn't have asked that question, I would have come back on what you earlier said on livelihoods and climate justice, because it's an important point to pause at. Yes, and if I would have known about this panel, I would have brought lots of figures also on how, for instance, Belgian climate finance is very much targeted on Africa within the Global South, and is also majoritarily focused on not just climate mitigation, but climate adaptation. So, which is also something that I think in a climate justice point of view from the African perspective is very important. Usually there is the complaint that the finance from the northern countries is mostly focused on mitigation, and therefore kind of like goes in a loop into their own institutions and actors and companies and all of that. So that is explicitly not the case of the Belgian climate financing. We've done the effort. Also, I mean, when we look at the global pie of what everybody should contribute to climate financing, we are there, and this is a big increasing budget over the years. So we are currently on track. Of course, it will have to increase ever more to 2040, 2050. We're perfectly cognizant of that. But your point about climate justice and livelihoods, I would say yes, of course, we have to have everybody on board, and justice means also that, you know, you don't unhealthily kind of like affect somebody in their livelihoods. But we should also not forget that at the same time, the very important notion of polluter plays out. That is, a polluter is by definition somebody who makes somebody else's livelihoods either unaffordable or destroys them by their practice, either by polluting literally with, you know, air and water and all those things, or by contributing disproportionately to climate change, makes it impossible for a farmer to farm somewhere and all of that. So there's no denying that the oil and gas sector in Nigeria, just as the oil and gas sector worldwide, has disadvantageously contributed to the phenomenon of climate change. And so that phase out has to happen. We can't just you know, make an exemption here just because some people are making their livelihoods out of these polluting activities, right? So in the end, people will be affected in their livelihoods, especially those who already know for 60, 70 years now that these activities were you know, harmful. So I think we can't step back from that reality either. Now, of course, there are all kinds of ways and slogans and plans. Considering gas as a transition fuel, I think, is something that, you know, the EU in general can accept, except that we won't fund new gas development either. Let that be clear. So that is off the table for us. Other people will still do that. So, but what we see as, yes, gas can partially power our energy mix for a few more decades to come. So we'll tolerate that, but we won't contribute to it kind of like developing ever further. That's also why I say, you know, I mean, if you can choose between solar-powered kitchens and gas, propane, butane-powered kitchens, well, I'd say rather do the leapfrog and go for the solar, because eventually gas is still, except for biogas, of course, but, you know, gas is still going to be a fossil fuel that contributes to the phenomenon of climate change. And sometimes that option is there, you know, between solution A and B. You know, in our countries, historically, we had to kind of go through all of these technologies from very dirty to cleaner consecutively, finding out, you know, what actually were the effects. By now, we have kind of such a clearer picture of what all those harmful effects of all these technologies, of all of these energy sources are. So we can actually also collectively make it better right from the start. So that, I think, is also an important insight.
Thank you so much. Just as with the last round, Dr. Abi. I just want to ask, you know, when we're talking of climate justice or climate action in Nigeria, just very recently that even the legislature is being in the conversation with the last Climate Act, and after the Climate Act in 2021, it's just been there, but now they are, you know, they are being more involved. But I haven't seen the judiciary involved in this, and we're talking of just transition, justice. How can they get more involved? One. Two, how can these policies at the federal level impact is felt locally as well? So we're talking both to the, I think it's the same sector, the justice and the legislature. How does it impact locally? How does it impact the local farmer in the village? Just give us two or three.
Talking about the judiciary, for my research, I can see that it's taking a lot of space internationally. Look at the Dutch case from the Dutch Supreme Court, and is the Rengeda Foundation, some foundation that urge that, you know, you should, when you're thinking about climate, you know, it's about justice, and you need to think about the next person, how it's going to be beneficial. Then look at South Africa. So if you take a cue from those, so it's gaining attention and momentum, take a cue from those countries that have done it, put implementation in place, impact on the farmer that is far off, means the farmer is taken care of automatically because everybody is conscious and nobody wants any, legal action or litigation. Then your next question, which is about how are being felt. Again, implementation, accountability, and structure. Implementation first. We need to be conscious of everybody. We need to be conscious of there are loads of people that are unbanked in this country, Nigeria. So meaning we haven't got the accurate data. So the data means once we know what this farmer needs or what this sector needs or what this region needs or community, then we can provide. And we ensure it is properly implemented. So the last the last implementation or the agreement by the UN, which was Paris Agreement, coming together. Every country has got a role to play, and it's been a huge turnout from the previous ones, because now we understand that some have got responsibilities and some have even contributed to these emissions in the past that's affected people, and some have got more resources. Our country, Nigeria, falls under the one that's got more resources, so we need more implementation for the next man that knows nothing to do without, so they can be conscious, do not pollute, reduce greenhouse emissions. We want to reduce these from, this degree Celsius to that. Just consciousness and implementation.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you so much, Dr. Abi. It's nice having you share this powerful insight. And I don't know if there are other questions from the audience or comments that we can take. Is there any? We could just take that briefly before we would leave the stage. But if there is none, that's actually very good. Saves us time as well. Okay, going one, going two, gone. Okay, so just to say that today's decision reminds us that just transition is more than just a policy goal. It's about you and me, it's about implementation, it's about what you do in your small space. The theme for this year's COP is nature-based solutions, and these are solutions you can find in your home right beside you. You don't need to go and look for grants or financial. You just have everything around you to be able to make these steps towards climate action. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you, Dr. Abi. Thank you, my audience, for having us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Please, let's take a picture before we go down, please.
Thank you very much. Distinguished Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to commend you for your time and patience till this time. I would also want to quickly recognize the presence of Mr. Kola Jayoba. A round of applause for him. Thank you so much. At this juncture, we would proceed with the next presentation. Apologies. We'll proceed with the next presentation from Dr. Abi Olushola. I will quickly take a citation before she comes up for the presentation. Dr. Abi Olushola, she is a philanthropist, a founder of a global nonprofit, which particularly invests in Africa to assist people of deprived backgrounds, supporting with reducing poverty, in the long run, eradicating extreme poverty through women and youth empowerment, provision of food security, basic amenities, and aid in education, blockchain, health science, and technology, delivering support through sustainable development goals. She has been honored to have invitations as guest speaker on data governance, environmental sustainability, and compliance topics at different summits across the world. She speaks different languages. If a round of applause, jamming your hands together, I want to quickly bring forward Dr. Abi to give us a presentation. Dr. Abi, please. I believe we can do that better. What's your steps? Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm always particular about the youth and the students, the young ones, because always particular about the youth and the students, the young ones, because they are tomorrow, they are today, and they are the ones that, that can drive change most of the time. So my name is Dr. Abi. I'm an international lawyer, and I schooled here in Nigeria before I traveled abroad, to further my studies. So I'm a solicitor of the Supreme Court of England and Wales, and a solicitor and a barrister of Nigeria. I'm very happy to be here to speak about climate justice, which is an issue which I said from the beginning that it's a national concern, and globally we're all accountable. But the minute we know that we need to do what is right to begin with, and we need to be accountable first, then do what is right. My presentation is going to be very short because of time. We all know that climate change is merely not an environmental crisis. Climate change is a matter of fairness, is a matter of human rights, and is a matter of equity. Climate justice, on the other hand, recognizes that when there is a minute to contribute to the greenhouse gas emission, we should think about it, because if we don't, it affects everyone in general. We know that the vulnerable population, they often face severe consequences. To mention a few, we have the rising sea level, food insecurity, which was an consequences. To mention a few, we have the rising sea level, food insecurity, which was an issue, or is always an issue, and it has become an issue globally. And we have things like displacement, which is a huge issue in the northern part of where we come from, Nigeria. Again, it is pertinent to know that climate change is an issue of distributive and corrective justice. Can we all be more inclusive by making this a national concern? So something was running through my mind when I sat down and I saw the corpus. I don't know who's going to grab the idea, but to reduce emission, greenhouse emission, could anybody amongst you start recycling your copper uniform? I mean, start that business. You might think there's nothing in it for you, but there's a lot, and you get a lot of support, not just locally or domestically, you get it internationally. So you get a hub, just like a recycling hub, where you've got sizes of, everyone labeled. And it's seamless, and it's cheap, cost effective, make it an online scale. In no time, the government will need you. So what I want is, when I tell people, make yourself more useful, because people drive for value. And when it comes to climate change, for everything we're doing, it affects the climate. From driving the car, we're talking about the farmers. The farmers are going to go, they need to get to their spots. Are they walking? Are they using tractors? Are they, things like that? We need to put things like that into consideration. Then we'll start thinking innovation. That is another space for you. I don't know how that's going to be mitigated, but it's brain work. But always look for mitigation and always look for how to solve solutions. Then the rest is history. Then you make things like the Ausi Foundation start looking for you to say, okay, there's somebody that I think I can partner with. Then you can drive partnership. So the legal reform and the legal policy, the measures addressing key matters like climate change must strike a balance. And what is this balance? Environmental goals, the demand of the social economic fairness, ensuring that no community is left behind, and the pursuit of sustainability. All communities are inclusive. We want farmers, we want women farmers. There are some farmers, women farmers, that want to farm, but they are disabled. What are we doing about that? They are there in their house, no farming, no cooking. They can't farm, but they are cooking. So that's another area for women farmers to please include. It's inclusion, and it's an area where, are we having a shuttle to drop off these disabled people at the farm? Are we having orientation for them? What are we doing to drive sustainability? Among the SDG, we've got no hunger. So which is very, very aligned with what you're doing. And it drives partnership. Partnership in the sense that you've got a wonderful foundation to work with. Most of the time when you partner with foundations like this, then things are properly sorted, because the owner of the foundation has got a drive that you don't have, so he can drive the partnership. On the other hand, the major step here I want us to look at was the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which was in 1992. Although it stands like a framework that all countries have a role to play, at the same time, more countries were responsible and they've, contributed to the past emissions, and more countries have got resources more than others. Then came the Kyoto Protocol, mandating developing countries binding targets to reduce emissions. However, some countries declined while some failed to meet their targets. The 2015 Paris Agreement, a major turnaround, and reason being that for almost every country that signed up to this agreement, proposing to set their own climate goals, which is the nationally determined contribution known as the NDC. Keep that acronym, you won't forget it, because it will be useful. This was to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. Now, talking about climate justice. Climate justice, we all know that it's a distributive and corrective justice. A takeaway is, can we all be more inclusive? Can we all be more supportive? especially the government. I don't know how this is going to travel, but I had a talk with the foundation, the owner of the foundation, and we had some, conversation, and something baffled me. I was expecting to see more turnaround from the government. We're very grateful, and those that came, thank you, you're appreciated. But for foundations like this, needs more support. If not, the vision is going to dry up, it's going to die. We actually do not want that. Climate justice, food insecurity, sustainability, human rights, equality, everything is interwoven. So meaning, we all are here to drive change. Change from being a copper, change from not throwing your cap. I'm guilty. I don't know where I've got all these sets, But when you look at people that are rising in this space, they are people with innovation, recycling products. And when we start recycling, that means we are not building more. We're not causing more commotion. Agriculture. Have you thought about it? There's a lot of space. There's a lot to do in agriculture. Even if everyone is not going to have a foundation about it, there's a lot of space. There's a lot to do in agriculture. Even if everyone is not going to have a foundation, because you don't know how you're going to drive it. You came here for space one, there's a foundation. So there's something to do. So I urge everybody to please be inclusive and know that support. It sounds, it almost sounds like one is soliciting, but every little helps. It could be time, it could be resources, it could be, it could be anything. And I'm going to leave here today to say, let's leave here to know that we're all responsible, lifting the other person up that started an initiative so it could grow faster and better. Thank you.
A round of applause for Dr. Abi once again. Thank you so much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would quickly want to call on stage Mr. Jayoba Kolawole as I take his citation to give us his own presentation. Jayoba Kolawole Obafemi is a disability rights advocate, trained meteorologist, and climate change inclusion expert with over 2 decades of experience. He is a program director of advocacy for women with disabilities initiative and a co-founder of Corporate Inclusion Limited, a diversity, equality, and inclusivity consulting firm supporting organization on accessibility, gender, and disability mainstreaming. Mr. Kolawole has worked with governments, development partners, and OPDs to advance inclusive policy, climate resilience, and social justice, particularly for women and girls with disabilities. With a round of applause, please, we make welcome Mr. Jayoba. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Standing on the existing protocol, we want to say thank you. Space One, thank you for putting this together. We want to say thank you for looking at the area that most of the time people tend to look away from. which is a component that has to do with marginalized people, and more importantly, women and girls with disability, which is where I've worked for the last 16 years. So I've worked with women with disability for the last 16 years, covering different communities in Nigeria, looking at some of the challenges they go through. So most of the time when people have a program or they have an initiative, they tend to not recognize this group of peoples, but we want to say thank you for Oluwole Housing Foundation for making sure that this group of people's voice are being heard. So I'm looking at empowering the marginalized, women, youth, and PWD in agro-energy transition. How can we empower this group of people? Women. Yes, I heard some women have spoken already, and we know that women have faced a lot of issues when it comes to marginalization, and then some component of the youth, and then person with disability. Person with disability suffer a double discrimination, most especially women with disability, where I've worked in the last 16 years. Number one, because they are women. Number two, because they are women with disability, so they suffer that. And then amazingly, when people like us work with women with disability, or you work with women, there is this believing that why are you working with women? Also, why are you working with women with disability? Because there is a view that you shouldn't have any relationship with person with disability. In the last 16 years, it has been a lot of explanation, giving people better orientation about the community of person with disability. Most of the time when I introduce myself that I work with person with disability, they tend to find out, how do you come about working with community of person with disability, and then travel and have to reject many offers, because some people thought it's because you didn't get a better opportunity. That's why you're working with this set of people, knowing fully that even when opportunity of funding come, funding don't actually goes to the community of person with disability. So there's so much that everybody needs to know, that we need to learn about the community of person with disability. Now, the world is transiting from fossil fuels to renewable energy, sustainable energy system. Agricultural and energy sector intersect in driving inclusive growth. So we must understand this intersection. However, women and youth and persons with disability often remain excluded from emerging opportunity. Women with disability, persons with disabilities are always excluded from emerging opportunity. So when they are talking about opportunity, hardly they talks about women with disability. About a few days ago, there is this demonstration at the Transcorp Eating asking for a reserved seat for women. So I mobilized the women with disability. We were there, put our placard. So many women are even looking at the women with disability that, why are these people here? What are they doing too? Are they part of the women? Okay, so there are so many things. People trying to come to our own section to find out, why do you mobilize women with disability to also come and talk about the reserved seat? Yes, they've forgotten that these are also women as well too. And we need to talk about this at every emerging opportunity, because that's is an emerging opportunity for women. So women with disability must also be mentioned. So when it comes to energy, when it comes to agricultural opportunity, person with disability, women and youth must be recognized. The inclusion imperative, the inclusive development ensure equitable access to resources, training, and technology. Yeah, the women are not useless. Persons with disability are not useless. Youths are not useless. The only thing is that we underutilize them or we don't give them opportunity at all. Many a times we say the youth are lazy. I think it was the former president of Nigeria that said the youth are lazy. It's just because the opportunities are not given to the youth. If the opportunity are given to them, you will see amazing work. Sometimes you think persons with disability are not useful. It's because opportunity are not given to them. March, April this year, I was in Germany. And what took me to Germany is about persons with disability. And what happened? One of our women with disability was nominated to attend a conference in Germany. And I'm to accompany her there. I have my leg, I have my hand, I have my eyes, but I've not gotten the opportunity to be invited for a global opportunity. A woman on a wheelchair got the opportunity to be nominated for a global opportunity. And she was there. I accompanied her to go there with my 2 legs, with my 2 eyes, with my everything. Every opportunity person with disability needs to get for them to utilize their platform, we need to give it to them. And when we were at that conference, I saw so many persons and all of that moving around. And then I met with some young person, medical doctors. I joined their group. And amazingly, one of them said, oh, she's a medical student, another person medical student, and all of that. And then they were telling me, oh, I'm a person with disability. So I'm trying to find out, person with disability, a medical doctor. One said, I'm a psychosocial person with disability, and this. And they are medical doctor. They are utilizing the opportunity. They are taking advantage of. They are not redundant to the street of their countries to become a beggar. Because when we say a person with disability, what comes to our mind is that let me give him 100 naira. I'll tell you a story of what happened to my boss one day. She has this converted car. She's a person with disability on a wheelchair, but she drives herself because they have this converted car that they help her to convert. She uses her hand to do some kind of things and drive the car. So she drove the car to the mechanic garage to do some certain things on the car. While she sat, she already came down from the car. She sat on her wheelchair, and then the mechanic was working on her car. Another guy came with another car, lower in value than the car. She drove to that place. But immediately the man came in, he sighted somebody on a wheelchair. What registered in his mind is, let me give him something to help her. Let me give her something. So he came down from his car, put his hand into his pocket, brought out 100 naira and gave my madam. She didn't get angry. She moved towards her car, brought out her bag, brought out 1,000 and gave the man. So the mechanic saw, the man got angry. I said, I'm giving you money, you are giving me. So he thought he's helping her, actually. And that's what so many of us have been doing to a person with disability. And the mechanic now said, what happened? He said, I was trying to help this beggar, see what this. I said, okay, do you know the car I'm working on is a car? The man just do like this. I'm sorry, Lord. Because in his mind, he didn't know a person with disability could have a car. He didn't know the person with disability could drive a car. He didn't know the person with disability could go to school. He didn't know the person with disability could contribute to the society. And that's where we have reduced person with disability to. We underutilize them. We did a training in Lafayette for person with disability. And a lady with visual impairment chose to do bead making and all of that. We tried to convince her. I said, how are you going to recognize color? She said she recognized color. How? He said, okay. So we allow her to do the training and all. And she came out overall best. Her product was the best. How she managed to recognize color, she said when she touched a color, she knows color. With your 2 eyes, you are still confused with color. Somebody didn't have eyes and she can recognize color with touching it. I can't explain it. Till today, she remained one of our best products in Lafayette. So what am I saying in essence is this: we should give opportunity, resources, training, technology for person with disability, for women, for youth. When you have the opportunity, even when they are not with you, when you are planning it, think about them. When they are not there, when they are not even asking you. And that's what the law says. That's what the Disability Act in Nigeria have said. Empowering marginalized groups drive innovation. It drives innovation. While we were in Germany, I saw so many persons with disability with so many equipment on their head, equipment on their hand, different innovation ongoing. Some people, when they talk, because of the severity of their disability, they have speech disorder. So as they are talking, it's coming out in a screen like this on their head. So somebody is, can you see the innovation? Such a person in Nigeria, they will bring the person to national mosques every Friday to collect money from other people. Can you see the innovation? Not only that they are using the innovation, they are involved in the development of the innovation. I met so many of them that share so many ideas that they are using. I want to let you know that there have been a lot of innovation about person with disability having a particular speech a gadget that can be fixed in their body. As they are having issue with their speech and all of that, that begins to translate whatever they are saying. And many other technology that we need to take advantage of. So we need to give them the opportunity of training, give them the opportunity of resources. Then empowering marginalized groups drive innovation, productivity, and social cohesion so that we can live together. We have left the days of rehabilitation. We are in the days of inclusion, mainstreaming. Everybody work together. Everybody stay together. Some people, I have had a program across Nigeria. We will meet with House of Representative members, and some of them will say, I've never seen person with disability in this light before. I've never seen person. Some people say, I didn't have a person with disability maybe around me. When I went to school, I didn't have a person with disability. So you don't know how to relate with person with disability, how you could work together, and all of that. So there is a need for us to have social cohesion when we make sure that we work together. It also helps in innovation, it helps productivity. You bring your own idea, they bring their own idea, and then we go on with solution. Leave no one behind is central to the SDG and Nigeria National Development Agenda. We can't leave anyone behind. We can't leave person with disability behind. We can't leave our women behind. We cannot leave our youths behind. The statistic shows that Nigeria is big when it comes to the number of the youths. That's why if the present leadership is not serious, revolution is going to happen, whether we like it or not. Somebody was trying to give me the analysis, and I said, don't worry, I know the analysis. I go to NYSC camp to train the corps member as a SAID trainer. I did that for many years, and I know the number of the corps members that are being produced every 3 months, thereabout. They are just bringing them out, different, and some other persons have even finished higher institution waiting to receive their call-up and all of that. And the people that are going out, what is the opportunity that are available for them? And this is what we need to think about to get them involved in productivity. Let's make sure that everybody are involved in what will help us in the development. Leave no one behind. Leave no youth, women, and person with disability behind. Let's talk about the key barriers as I try to also wrap up. Key barriers to participation: limited access to finance and credit for smallholders and women entrepreneurs and person with disability. They ask you to bring what they are sure you will not get. Yeah, they said there are facility available in banks, and then you go there. They give you what they know you will not get. Okay? It's like they ask you to go and bring C of O. They have you to go and bring. If you have a C of O, certainly you won't need that facility. It actually means you are okay. It's like, go and bring this one, go and bring that one. They actually know that you won't get that. I was speaking with a friend in China who helped me to bring some equipment to Nigeria. And then he was talking to me about some opportunities that are available that you don't need to know anybody to access it. But here, you need to know somebody, you need to beg the person. There are some certification, there are some accreditation I did in Nigeria. I need to go and beg some of my church members that know somebody there. That's just the reality of things. I need to go and beg somebody that knows somebody there. There is one I wanted to get. I didn't get it. I was begging everybody, do you know anybody who can help me to talk to this? So somebody now said, oh, the former minister is in your church. I have to go and meet him? He said, yes, I can. He traveled abroad. That day he came, he just went straight there. Before they could give me paper, not money, paper in Nigeria. And not that I'm not qualified. They later say, why do you go that far? We will still work it out now. And I was pursuing it for almost 4 years. It was that same week they gave me paper to be able to carry out. So these are some of the barrier that we face in assessing finance in Nigeria for young person, for women, for person with disability. Inaccessible technology and infrastructure. We must make our technology to be accessible. Your website must be text to speech. That when they open your website, if you open our own website now, www.awdi.org.ng, immediately you open it, it will start to read for you. So if you are a person with visual impairment, you don't need to navigate anywhere. It's telling you what is there. It's telling you where to click. It's telling you, so you don't need it. That is how inclusion is all supposed to be. Okay, we have socio-cultural biases, limiting participation of women and persons with disability. We have issue with our culture. Yes, there are different culture. Some culture believe that person with albinism, they are deity, that they are small god, that when you wake up in the morning, you have to put palm oil on their head. Something happened to one of our women with disability. A person with albinism, she was raped. And then the guy that raped her was apprehended. They took the guy to the police station. And then they said, why do you have to rape her? She said they told her that the vagina of a woman with disability is sweeter than the vagina of a person without disability. So he needed to experiment it. And that was what happened. We have seen situations where some of our women with albinism was killed because somebody wants to do money ritual. They want to make money very fast. And these are some of the cultural issues that we have that we still need to look at carefully. So it's limit the participation. Some of our women with hunchback don't want to come out because there's some also cultural belief that when you get that person and you are able to cut the hunch and you use it, you will have a lot of money. I believe that's what Dangote used, Abi? Or that's what Otedola used. So it's a cultural, wrong culture, and all of that. So these are some of the issues we need to also address. Lack of disability inclusive policy framework in agro-energy sector. All the policy must reflect disability, must reflect the youth and the women. And so these are some of the issues we have within the system. Pathway to empowerment. Number one, capacity building. Let me rush. Number one, capacity building. Like what we are doing, we are enlightening here today. We should do more. We should do capacity building, skill development, and inclusive training program. Number two, accessible technology. Make your technology accessible. The youth core member. I was a core member too, 2008, so I sat like this as well too. I know some of you were in university that time. You were my mates. Okay, just a joking matter. And what I'm saying in essence is this. The younger generation are coming up with different application app. When you are developing it, think about person with disability. Think about the inclusion on that app that you want to develop, on what you want to do, the innovation you want to do, and all of that. You must think accessibility. You must think universal design. Then we have policy reform. The policy maker must reform many policy, mainstream disability and gender inclusion in energy and agricultural policy. Inclusive financing, access to credit, grant, and investment for marginalized group. This will also help out. Okay? Conclusion. Inclusion is not charity. When you include person with disability, it's not a charity. When you include the youth, it's not a charity. When you include women in agro, energy, smart agriculture, and all of that, it's not a charity, it's necessity. It is smart economy. It is smart economy. Integrating women, youth, and PWD ensures a sustainable and equitable transition. Let us collaborate to build an inclusive green future together. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kola. Can we do the raindrop clap for him? We should be familiar with it by now. Let's start. Next. 3, 4, and 5. Thank you very much. While Mr. Kola was speaking, we had a very special guest in the house. Let me do the honors to introduce him. He's my very good friend. He's here with us today. Sorry, my phone. Is the person of, I'm not reading your name, I know your name. Comrade Yusuf Kelani. He's the essay to the President on climate change. Thank you very much, you're welcome. So I'll be inviting you for a goodwill message. Very brief, very brief. I know you're capable. Thank you so much. Please, let's keep clapping till he gets here. He's not just the essay, he has also been in the civil society space with us for so many years, fighting for just climate change in Nigeria. Thank you so
much. MC, thank you so much for the introduction, and I know a protocol has already been established. First, I want to beg to stand on that, and I want to specially, again, recognize the organizers of the event, our mothers that are here seated, who had to create that time to be here this afternoon to discuss what is most important to our life at this time. Let's give them a round of applause, please. So my apology for coming late. We had about 4 events today. We're having the Council of States meeting at the Villa today. So some preparatory works we needed to put up in the morning. Another event on Cook Stove is going on at Transcorp, and 2 other events. But I promised the organizers that even if it's just a few minutes, I will be here. And that's why I had to rush down. So once again, my apology for coming late. I did listen to the last presenter, and I want us all here to take back home those messages that he has actually thrown at us. They are very, very important. They are things we need to note. And I would like to inform us that His Excellency, Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is climate conscious and also gender sensitive, and at the same time, people with disability conscious as well. And among us essays, for the first time, we have an appointment of a special advisor to the president representing the people with disability, Comrade Isa Abbas. And at events like this, whatever the outcome of this event is, I'm going to share his number with the organizers so that you discuss it with him. And I'm sure he's one of the very active special assistants to the president, very, very active. And I can tell you, any information or any report you give to him and you want that report to get to His Excellency, he will deliver it. I picked some things from the presentation. Yes, we've been having so much talks, so much meetings, discussing how people with disabilities are treated here and how they are treated out there in the Western world. Yes, they've gone far. People with disability live like normal human beings right now. In fact, there are special cars for them that will come down to their level so that they can easily roll their seats in, and a lot of things. But I think we've been talking too much. This is the time we need to begin to put those things into practice and have them amongst us and within us. So Comrade Issa is doing a lot, and I really want that wonderful presentation to be discussed and shared with him, and I know he will do something. He's working with every minister who are involved, because people with disability, they are just like us. In fact, they are smarter. I have to say that. They are smarter, they think fast. And, you know, many of them are very, very intelligent. So, wonderful presentation to the speaker. Then looking at what we are discussing today, renewable energy. Yes, we all know that. Climate justice. The voice on climate justice is so loud globally. And practically what climate justice talks about, it's about inclusiveness, fairness in decisions that has to do with adaptation and mitigation, which are the ways of trying to resolve the effects of climate change globally. And as we all know, there's a major push for the voices from the global south who are most affected by the results of the impact of climate change. And unfortunately, the global south houses the poorest in the world and those who are economically challenged, and you know, and the more vulnerable people, you know, belong to that global south. And so the voice is so loud. Under climate justice, you know, looking at activities around mitigation, that the poorer nation who contributes very little should be given special consideration in trying to attend to the issue of adaptation and mitigation. And that voice is so loud. And that voice led to the agreement in Paris in 2015 at COP21. And also, going after that, you know, we had the effect of COVID-19, which affected our drive and our global push in discussing climate change matters. But in 2021, we resumed in Glasgow, and discussion continued. And in 2022, in Sharm el-Sheikh, the agreement on introducing the loss and damage funds, which is a special fund that tends to the most vulnerable people, that the countries who emit more, who contribute more to global emission, will pay certain amounts to cater and try to mitigate the effect of climate change in the global south. And I think the formula and the strategy towards administering that was also discussed last year in Baku, and decisions was reached. Our preparation now is towards COP30 in Brazil, where we will be advancing discussion in mitigating the effect of climate change. And Nigeria will be playing a major role there. Just a few months ago, we submitted our NDC 3.0, which is Nigeria outlook in the ways we want to combat the effect of climate change, looking at the major sensitive areas, the industries, agriculture, energy, and other social services played a lot. That means we all have a role to play in mitigating the effect of climate change. So I'm happy to see the core members here. You have a lot to do. Climate change is not for scientists alone. Discussing climate change and finding solutions to climate change is not limited to the organizers of this event alone. It is not limited to those people who are delivering lectures or organizing programs in the area of climate change alone. It is something that we all have to play a role in, right from our community. How we try to reduce those activities we carry out intentionally, unintentionally. For example, we talk about flooding. What happens? What creates flooding around us? We should advance that course in trying to tell the people to reduce dropping or stop dropping refuse in drainages whenever it's raining. One, separate your plastic waste. And two, at home, whenever you're not making use of any energy, try to put them off. Try to save energy use, because it also reduces carbon emission. And in the course of you engaging with people who are running programs like this, you get to understand the practical, the scientific, and the human aspect of these things that we are talking about. So it, like we said, is a global effort, and we all have a role to play. We have a role to play in our country, and wherever we find ourselves, we have a role to play. It's a goodwill message, and I think 5 minutes she said, so I will be rounding up here. And once again, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to appreciate you all, and God bless us all. Thank you so much.
A round of applause once again. RENEWABLE, please get ready. So I just quickly want to re-echo some of the things we've had from different presentations earlier today. We've heard about innovation. A lot of the speakers have talked about innovation. We've also heard about the NDC 3.0 and the active role the government is playing in that space. We've heard about recycling, fabrics, and fashion as upcycling. Likewise, we've talked extensively about food security. We've also talked about transitioning from fossils to clean cooking and clean energy through renewables. Likewise, we've also had a little about data governance and tracking. And especially, we've had so much about partnership, which is a major factor to drive a lot of these solutions to fruition. Likewise, we've also heard about climate justice, which is an overarching topic that cuts across both human rights, diversity, equality, and inclusion, where we express so much about women and youth inclusion and the inclusion of people living with disabilities in this discourse. Going forward at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, speaking about action, in the spirit of action and green entrepreneurship, we would want to quickly bring forward RENEWABLE to come and make a presentation. Let's put our hands together for RENEWABLE as it takes the podium. It's bringing a solution. Please keep clapping as he comes to the podium. We are looking forward to it.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Joseph Samuel. I'm the founder for RENEWABLE Ecotech. Thank you. Again, I want to stand on existing protocols. Mr. S.A., you're welcome. It's a good time. You just came timely, you know, because I was like getting cold feet when I knew the people that have to hear what I have to say have other things to do, and they had left earlier. But at least I have the highest from the highest in Nigeria with me. So let's put our hands together. And our mommies, I want to appreciate your patience. Thank you very much. RENEWABLE Ecotech basically is all about recycling. And our target about recycling is biomass. This whole talk about climate change has just one thing as the problem. A lot of initiatives have come into the climate space, but unfortunately, we can attest that they've not really done the job. I'm looking at the statistics before I came up, and shows that between 1990 till date, Nigeria has just reduced emission by 0.79%, which is less than 1%. And I think if your child comes back with a scorecard with less than 1 over 100, I don't think, you don't call that a fail, you don't even call that an attempt, you know, but that's what it is. Now, green gas, it's all about 4 basic gases, which is the carbon dioxide. There's something that usually is not being mentioned, and that is the crux of the problem, and that is called methane. Methane is 20 times dangerous than carbon dioxide. And Nigerians produce twice the amount of methane than carbon dioxide. The next is your nitric oxide, then your fluorinated gas. The funny thing about this whole drive about climate change initiative, it's about we find all of the innovations and all of the technologies not addressing biomass. Because plastic do not generate carbon dioxide nor nitric oxide. nor clothing, nor every other things. What actually generates this gas is biomass, your bio waste. And that is what we don't find anybody. 10 years ago, I got this idea. I'm a doctor, not academic. I'm a physician by practice. I specialize in nutrition. And so I specialize in what is called cardiometabolic diseases. That's grammar. Simply chronic diseases. That's much more grammar. But we're talking about basic high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, kidney problem, liver problems. And my specialty is that I use fruits, not herbs, not traditional medicine. So I use fruits because these diseases are not caused by viruses. They are actually caused by lifestyle or nutritional deficiencies. And one of the ways you can get this nutrition back into your body is in food. And because these people have this disease because their stomach has developed a system whereby it cannot digest this food properly. So I had to create a way to bypass it. And the only way you can do that is through drinks, nutritional drinks. So I mix the normal thing you eat, your apple, your banana, your pineapple, and mix it in a different proportion. And we are treating kidney diseases, we are treating cancer cases with that, and that's what I specialize in. But about 7 years ago, I encountered a problem, and that was what drove me into the energy, the renewable space. Not renewable particularly, I am actually in the sustainable energy space. Okay, so I discovered that my patients were not getting well in record time. So I'm supposed to treat you, and you're supposed to, within 2 weeks, I'm supposed to see certain changes. But now, after 1 month, I haven't seen it. So it became a concern. And in further research, I discovered that it is the quality of our foods that has gone down. And the quality of food that has gone down means that the nutrition has gone down and means that it cannot treat the disease in a timely place. So I began to think about how can I improve the quality of the food? And that's what brings me into agriculture. Now, I have to look for farmers who I can now talk with them so that they can grow organic food for me that I can use to produce my organic nutrition, medicine, therapies, which I can use in treating my patients. But unfortunately, I couldn't find a farmer that does anything organic. And then I went a little bit further. Farmers who claim to be using things organic, because I'm a health practitioner, I actually discovered that these things are having organic name, but actually are chemicals. So for those of you who are farmers or who have things doing around farmer, whenever you go to a farm and they tell you have to dilute it with 10 liters, 50 liters, just know that what you're diluting is chemical. It is not. So any of those substances you find and they tell you that you have to use 1 ml for 10 liters, friend, that is chemical. And one of the prime brand in Nigeria use a chemical called ethoxylated alkaphenol. For those of you who are chemistry or science students, you will know that ethoxylated alkaphenol is the same thing they used to treat coal. They use it to treat iron, not to get rust. And that's the same thing that we have in one of Nigeria's most prime fertilizers. And there are many others. So that brings me to the fact that I discovered that what we call organic are not actually organic fertilizers. So I now have to go a little bit further because I have to solve my problem, because I have to treat my patients. Okay? And so it took me further, and I discovered that I have to now go and look for fertilizer that actually can do the job of giving us organic, that can give us organic fruits that I can use in treating my patients. So you can see my journey. So I have been on this journey for the past 10 years. And so I discovered that the only way I can get organic, to grow my organic, to get my organic medicine done, is if I have to produce this thing myself, because I can't get it in the market. And that's what drove me to biogas technology. Because in biogas technology, you don't just get the biogas, you also get organic fertilizer, which is 100%. And that was when I even discovered that there's even a business about the whole thing, about climate change, about everything. Now, coming to where we are, talking about the climate resilience and everything we want to talk about today, is the fact that statistics shows that Nigerians generate about 542 million tons of organic waste, which emits about 271 million tons of greenhouse gases. Again, Nigerians have the statistics of producing about 334 million greenhouse gases, whether it's carbon or methane and the rest. So if Nigerian can take and tap into the industry of recycling its organic waste, it means that if we can do it, Mr. Essay, that's why I said I'm very particular that you are here. If you can support us, because I'm actually doing it right now. As I speak, I have the largest biogas plant in Nigeria. The largest done by a government is just 20 cubic. What I have is 120 cubic, which means I can produce fertilizer that I can use for up to 1 million farmers in 1 year. I can actually do it in 3 months. I'm not speaking it. Is what I have invested I have suspended my medical practice, and that's where I've been for the past 2 years. I have a little product right there at the back where I have already started packaging these fertilizers. Let me not go into the policy thing because that's a different thing. When you were speaking about policies, I didn't want to say anything because it's always a paper thing. When it comes to implementation, it's a different ball game altogether. So this is where we are. This is where we are. If Nigerian really and truly want to deal with climate challenge, the best thing is biomass recycling. When we do that, Mr. Essay, sir, Nigerian will reduce 81% of our green gas emission in the shortest possible time. This is realistic. Do you know the funny thing? Unfortunately, I couldn't make my presentation. Do you know the whole of Europe have biogas plants? The whole of them. Germany have the highest. Germany generates 350 gigawatts of electricity using biogas. As far back as 2015, China is generating over 500 gigawatts of electricity using biogas. They don't want us to know. Biogas is actually called a third world technology. But unfortunately, in the whole of Africa, a 2010 statistic shows that Asian has over 34 million biogas units. And so is America, having about 24 million. But do you know how many Africa has? 30,000. That's where we are. So I beg every one of us, talking about sustainable agriculture, I've been going to governments to talk about this for years, and no one is listening. 2016, I got a grant from Dubai to build biogas plant, and they were going to give me $2 million at 2% for 20 years with 5 years moratorium. All they needed was a sovereign guarantee. I didn't get it, and so I didn't get the money. So this is who I am, and this is what will work. I beg you, policymakers, if you don't want to support anybody, can you just please support me? Thank you very much.
Can we please give another round of applause for Renewables? I think this is quite a food for thought. Creating green solution, driving policy around it, and also finance is key. In the spirit of talking about finance, I want to recognize Asha MFB. Please rise up and wave so that we can see you. Yeah, so thank you so much. And in terms of policy, Our comrade is ably seated and is our voice to the presidency, who will definitely communicate the feedback to him. As we bring this to a close, I will quickly want to bring forward the comrade essay to the presidency on climate change, so that he can do a little rebuttal on what we've discussed, and likewise also do the honors of doing a benediction for this event. Let's put our hands together as he comes forward.
All right, thank you so much. From your submission, like I did say while I was giving my keynote speech, I said we've been talking all the while, and my background, I've been a civil society person from time, so we've been talking. And now I find myself in the other divide, which is policy implementation now. And so we have no excuse. We have to make things happen. Yes, I understand the frustration that comes when you're trying to get that sovereign guarantee from what you said. At times, it could be about being careful, because there are certain things. A lot is happening out there, and as a government, you have to be very careful so that you not be listed in any misconduct that happens out there, because a lot is going on. But then there are ways, and that is the reason why the NCCC was created, the National Council on Climate Change. And also right now, there are departments in agriculture where they are really so into the food security issue that we're discussing. Because as a civil society person, we fought the introduction of the, what do they call it, the GMO into the system. You understand? Because we really spoke against it, and we fought it and made sure that it didn't happen, because there are certain things that are coming. There are, Western orientation that they are trying to impose on us, and we have to carefully, refuse them. So right now, I'm coordinating an activity now of all CSOs. We're going to have a stakeholder meeting towards the end of this month. So I'm going to share the link to actually register, because we are doing a stock take for all stakeholders in the CSO sector in Nigeria, where you are going to tell us what you're doing, where you're doing it, where you're located, and your information. So we're trying to call for a meeting. So things like this, we're going to hear the things you have to say, and we are going to advise or probably take it up on meeting with the right channel where such thing could fly. Because we have a whole lot of administrative institutions that will play a role. What you want to do, it's foreign affairs. Foreign affairs will play a role. Diaspora will play a role. Ministry of Health will play a role. Agriculture will play a role. It is towards protecting the country, because a lot is happening. But we will get there. But there's a lot going on. So, like I said, now is policy implementation. We know the policies, and to ensure that we have something that is going on out there. There are quite a lot of people out there who are so brilliant, who are doing a lot of things. I've met with quite a lot of them. So we are trying to bring them together. Not just talk. Let's begin to practice them, and God will help us. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together again for ourselves. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for attending the event. I would also want to especially appreciate all our guests and speakers who have at one point in time today taken a particular presentation, goodwill message, or the panel session. Thank you so much. Thank you for making it a date, and we look forward to receiving you again next year for Space One in Climate Initiative 3.0. But then, as we close, I would yield the floor to Mr. Temitope, the convener, to also say some few words. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oluwatosin, Ambassador Oluwatosin. So now I don't have a script. I don't have a script. I don't have anything written out that's planned. So everything I'm going to say now is just from my heart. So I want to especially thank every one of us that made it here this afternoon. You know, there's a popular scripture that says, many were called, but few were chosen. So we're lucky to be the chosen ones this afternoon to be here. I want to especially thank everyone. I want to thank my family. I know what my wife went through to ensure that we could actually put something in the mouth this afternoon. Please clap. So when I was giving the opening speech, I know we went through a whole lot. So for those of us that are coming out, you have an idea, you have a dream, you have a heart desire, something that is you are waking up in the middle of the night and you're asking yourself, how do you go about it? I want to advise you this afternoon. Just do it. 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 Last year we were here for 1.0. We had a full house. We're in the other hall. We had almost 150 on site. We had almost 80, 90 online. But this year we are here. We did much more than the last year's publicity was not like what we did this year. But I feel this year we made more impact. We invited people that could actually listen and could actually implement what we are saying. So I think we've made much, much, much progress. Please give ourselves a round of applause. Last year, I was just the main person. I was just the figurehead. I was just moving. But now we have partners. Please give them a round of applause. Last year, the government was not represented here. The public service was not represented here. But this year, they are represented. Please give them a round of applause. Last year, we didn't have the women farmers. We only have the male folks from Gwagwalada. But now we have the women farmers. Clap for them. Our people that has been constant has been the NYC. Please clap for yourselves. They were here last year. They are here this year. They will be here next year. Clap for yourselves. No. A new batch will be here next year. And if you can volunteer, we have volunteers. I don't know if our volunteers that were here with us last year are around. Can they please just stand up? Winifred, Jane Rose, can you please come in? Let's recognize you. Please, my volunteers, please. How can I do this without them? The flyers, all the flyers we had were designed by in-house volunteers. The promo videos were designed by in-house volunteers. Where are they? Please, my people, come now. Don't fall my hands. Please. They were coppers like you last year. They joined up with us. And since then, they've been with us. They are with us now. They have their own jobs they are doing, but they are with us. Please clap for them. Please appreciate them. Please, come. Oh, yeah, please. Mistura, please come up stage. Please. Where is Elliot? So I think there were 7 of them. And then we have, how many of them do we have now? We still have 4 of them with us. Please clap for them. They did excellently well. So you have a dream. You have something that you want to do. Please. Nothing comes easy. Last year, I spent all my money, all my savings. This year, I've spent all my salary for this month. I don't even know what I'm going to use to feed for the next month. But I'm grateful that you are here. That this vision is not dying with me. We're making progress. Yes, please clap for him. This is Elliot. Please clap for him. He was very, 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 very patient. We have to be very, very patient with him. But please clap for him. I appreciate him. You have a dream. You have something you want to do. Please know that you have to get your skin in it. Don't wait for people to help you move your dreams. Be the driver of your dreams. Don't wait for the government to help you pilot your dreams. No. Don't wait for investors. Be the one to drive your dreams. And when you drive your dreams, then you can always have passengers join you to help you drive those dreams. as we leave here this afternoon, I want us to have that at the back of our minds, that we are the only ones that can drive our dreams. And if you are a proud Nigerian like myself, who has refused to Japa, I refused. Every time they mention Japa, it's always a second thought to me. It's not like the main thing for me. It's not like I want to go. I'm proud of that color, the green. I don't know, I like green. I love it. You see now, I'm also wearing something green. I love the green. And I want us to be very, very proud Nigerians. Everywhere you go. I was on one platform, and so we were on a platform, and we were wishing Nigeria happy independence. And somebody just came up from nowhere. And guess what? This person is a Nigerian in another country. And he came out and said, what are we celebrating as an independent nation? God knows that I can't keep quiet. Immediately I told him that, come, I can perceive that you are a Nigerian by your name. But you are in another man's country. And you are rubbishing your own country. Please, I will not take that from you. The country you are, they have their issues. Why would you go and be washing our own dirty linen outside? I called him out. But guess what? He came back and said he didn't mean it. I said, you better not mean it. I want us everywhere we go to be proud Nigerians. It doesn't matter what we are going through. We know where we come from. We know our story. But we should not, because of that, be discouraged. Thank you very much. And for the essay to the minister, to the president, thank you so much. It was a last-minute call, and he's here with us. Thank you so, so much. Let's appreciate him. Let's appreciate him. And to my honorable MCs. So, you see Princess Dussault. We met on one of those platforms, and the ambassador is here. We met on another platform. I want to thank them for specially being here. And on behalf of everybody, God bless you. We'll see in 3.0. Thank you. There's something outside for some of us, just something to mount. Thank you.